cold wind blew through the alleyways of a large human city. Between tall metal buildings under a broken bridge, a poor alien woman sat on the hard ground. Her skin was a soft shade of blue, her hair long and tangled. In her arms, she held a small girl, her daughter. The child looked tired and cold, wrapped in thin cloth that barely kept her warm. They had arrived weeks ago. Their ship was damaged, forced to land on Earth. Her husband had died during the crash. Since then, she had been running, hiding. She didn't know the human language. She didn't know who to trust. People walked past the bridge, humans in warm coats. Some glanced at her but quickly turned away. No one stopped. No one helped. She had begged silently with her eyes, but it didn't matter. She and her daughter were invisible. The little girl coughed weakly. The sound broke the silence, like glass. The mother quickly covered the child's mouth, afraid someone would hear and chase them away again. Her arms tightened around the girl. "Mama," the child whispered. "I'm hungry." Tears formed in the woman's eyes. Her voice shook. "I know, baby, I know." She reached into a small bag beside her, empty, no food, no water, just a broken picture of her family. Her daughter looked thinner every day. Her eyes were losing their shine. It started to rain, not the soft kind of rain, but a cold, biting rain that made the bones hurt. The mother held her daughter close and tried to cover her with her own body. Her clothes were wet in minutes. She was shaking. The girl was shivering. Still, no one stopped. The woman looked up at the sky. It was gray and heavy. "Please," she whispered. "Someone, anyone." But the wind carried her voice away. Suddenly, footsteps. Slow, careful. She looked up, scared. A tall human man stood nearby, holding a red umbrella. He had a tired face and wore work gloves. For a second, he looked right at her. The woman tensed. Would he yell? Tell her to leave? But he didn't say anything. He just looked sad. He stepped closer. She grabbed her child and pulled her back. "No," she said in fear. The man didn't move closer. He only crouched down and gently placed a paper bag on the ground. Then without a word, he walked away, back into the rain. The woman stared at the bag. Was it a trick? The girl reached out slowly. "Mama?" Carefully, the woman opened the bag. Inside was food. Real food. Bread, fruit, even a bottle of clean water. There was also a small blanket. She couldn't believe it. The mother looked around. The man was already gone. She stared at the food, then at her daughter. With shaking hands, she broke the bread and gave the first bite to the little girl. The girl chewed slowly, her small face full of hope. "It's soft," she said, smiling for the first time in days. The mother wiped her own tears and wrapped the new blanket around the child. "Sleep now, little one," she whispered. "Tomorrow, maybe the world will be kind again." That night, the rain kept falling. But for the first time, the woman felt a tiny bit of warmth. Not just from the blanket, but from something deeper. Someone had seen them. Someone had cared. And even though she didn't know who he was, that man with the red umbrella had changed something in her heart. She closed her eyes. Her daughter slept peacefully beside her. The city still roared above them, cold and loud. But under the broken bridge, a mother and child had hope again. And hope was enough to survive one more day. The morning was quiet, but the city never really slept. Machines hummed, vehicles flew above in the sky lanes. But down on the wet ground, under the same broken bridge, the alien woman sat holding her daughter. They had survived the night. The food was gone, the blanket was damp. But her daughter had slept without crying. And that meant everything. The woman had not slept. Her mind was full of questions. Who was the man with the red umbrella? Why had he helped them? Would he come back? She kept looking at the street, her eyes scanning every pair of feet that walked by. But none of them were his. Until tiny hand suddenly let go of her arm. "Wait," her daughter cried. "It's him." Before the woman could stop her, the child had stood up and was running. The mother's heart jumped in fear. She grabbed the blanket and chased after her daughter. The girl had stopped just outside the alley where the street met the sunlight. There, near a metal post, stood the same man. He was fixing a small floating delivery drone, using tools from his worn-out bag. He turned when he saw them. His face lit up with surprise. "You again," he said gently, though they couldn't understand his words. The mother quickly caught up and pulled her daughter close. "You can't run like that," she whispered in her native tongue. The man didn't move closer. He raised his hands to show peace. Then, slowly, he reached into his coat and pulled out another wrapped item, a sweet bun. He handed it to the girl. The girl looked at her mother, unsure. The woman hesitated, then nodded. The child took the bun. "Thank you," she said, though she knew he wouldn't understand. The man smiled. Then he turned back to his drone and continued working. The woman stood there silently. Should she leave? Should she say something? But what could she say? Her language was different. Her voice didn't matter here. But then the man did something strange. He picked up a small device from his bag. It looked old and rusty. He pressed a button and spoke. The device buzzed and repeated his words in a different language. "Come, safe place," it said. The alien woman froze. The translation wasn't perfect, but she understood. He wanted them to follow. The woman looked down at her child. The girl was already nodding, hopeful. She looked back at the man. His eyes were kind. He waited, not forcing, not rushing. Slowly, she stepped forward. The walk was not long. He led them to a quiet street, then to an old building made of stone and metal. A sign above the door was broken, unreadable. Inside, the space was full of machines, half-finished projects, broken tech, spare parts. It smelled of oil and wires, but it was warm. There was a heater in the corner, a clean mat on the floor, a small table with chairs. The man gestured to the mat. "Sit," the translator said. The woman hesitated. The place was strange, but it didn't feel dangerous. She helped her daughter sit down. The child smiled and touched the warm floor. The man brought a cup of warm liquid, some kind of tea. Then he handed over a soft towel. The woman didn't understand. At first, he gently pointed to her wet arms, her muddy hands. She understood. He was offering a way to clean up. She looked at her child's dirty face, then back at the man. Slowly, she took the towel. "Thank you," she said, her voice shaking. The man smiled again and left them alone. The woman cleaned her daughter's face, then her own. The warmth of the towel felt like a gift from another world. Later, he returned and placed 2 bowls on the table. Soup, simple, but hot and full of flavor. The child ate quickly. The woman took small bites, watching every move. He didn't ask questions. He didn't try to touch them. He just cleaned his tools, keeping his distance, but always watching with kind eyes. After the meal, the child fell, asleep in her mother's lap. The man walked over and placed a pillow beside them. "Stay tonight," the translator said. The woman looked up at him. Stay? Was this real? Could she trust this stranger? Her heart beat fast, but her daughter was already sleeping. She nodded, just for one night. As the city lights glowed through the windows, the woman sat in silence. She still didn't know who this man was, why he was helping, what he wanted. But for the first time in many, many days, she didn't feel completely alone. The morning light peeked through the dusty window. The old garage was quiet. Machines sat still. Wires hung like sleeping snakes. The alien woman opened her eyes slowly, unsure for a moment where she was. But then she felt the small weight of her daughter resting safely against her chest, and the warmth, that unfamiliar, peaceful warmth, reminded her they were no longer under the bridge. The man with the red umbrella was sitting across the room. He was drinking from a small mug, staring at a screen that showed glowing lines and alien symbols. He didn't notice she was awake, or maybe he did but chose to let her rest. She watched him silently. His movements were calm, focused. He looked like someone who had lost much but kept going. His eyes were kind, but his shoulders carried invisible weight. Her daughter stirred beside her. "Mama," she whispered. "Are we staying here, though my woman brushed her fingers through the child's soft hair. "Just for now," she replied gently. "Just until I understand." She didn't want to trust too quickly. Many had seemed kind before. Then they showed their true faces. The man finally noticed them. He stood, placed his mug down, and walked over, slow, careful. From his bag, he pulled out another translator device. He tapped it, and the small machine buzzed. "I go repair now," it said in a soft, robotic voice. "You come or rest?" The woman blinked. "Go? With him?" She looked down at her daughter. The girl's eyes were curious, eager. The woman stood up. "We come," she said quietly. They followed him into the streets. He walked with tools in a bag and a small scanner in his hand. The child walked between them, holding her mother's hand tightly. The woman kept her eyes on every corner, every shadow, but no one stared. This part of the city seemed forgotten, quiet, full of rust and old dreams. He led them to a broken service station. A floating delivery machine lay tipped on its side, sparks flying. A man in uniform waited outside, annoyed. The red umbrella man spoke quickly, using hand signs and broken words. Then he opened the machine and began working. The alien woman stayed back, watching. She noticed how his hands moved, fast but careful. He understood alien tech. That wasn't common. Most humans didn't know how to fix star metal wiring or translate binary cores. Where had he learned this? Her daughter picked up a tiny bolt from the ground. "Mama," she whispered. "He's smart." "Yes," the woman said. "He is." After fixing the machine, the man was given some credits. He thanked the customer, then turned back toward them. The woman didn't speak. She only stared at the credits in his hand. She expected him to keep them, but instead he handed some to her. She stepped back, shaking her head. He looked confused. "No take?" he asked through the device. She stared at him. "Why?" she finally asked. He paused, then slowly tapped the translator again and spoke 3 words. "You need more." Her throat tightened. She didn't know what to say. He put the credits into her hand, then turned and walked. She followed. Back in the garage, the woman sat quietly as her daughter played with a small glowing cube the man had given her. The cube hummed softly and made shapes in the air, stars, moons, ships. The girl laughed, her voice full of joy for the first time in so long. The man returned with fresh bread and a small pack of dried fruit. He handed it to them and sat down near the wall. The woman finally spoke again. "You fix alien machines." The man looked up, surprised. She pointed to his bag. "You know our tech." He nodded. "My wife," the translator said. "She was alien." The woman's eyes widened. He pulled something from a metal box nearby, a photo. It showed a smiling woman with soft purple skin and bright eyes. In her arms, a baby girl. "My family," he said softly. "Long time ago." The alien woman didn't ask what happened. She didn't need to. The pain was still on his face. Now, she understood. He wasn't just helping her because he was kind. He was helping because he had once loved someone like her. She looked at her daughter, then at the man. Maybe he was broken too. Like them. Maybe. Broken people saw each other in ways others didn't. That night the woman stayed awake again, but not out of fear. She watched her daughter sleep beside her, smiling even in her dreams. She looked at the man across the room. He had fallen asleep at his workbench. a tool still in his hand. She pulled the blanket tighter around herself and whispered into the quiet, "Thank you." For the first time, the word felt safe to speak. The next day, the sky was gray. Rain tapped softly on the garage roof like a quiet song. Inside, it smelled of metal, warm bread, and machine oil. The alien woman sat near a small heater, brushing knots out of her daughter's hair. The girl giggled as light from the glowing cube danced across the walls. The man with the red umbrella was at his workbench, head down, focused. He hadn't spoken much all morning. He just kept working, his hands moving over wires, tools, and strange broken devices that didn't belong to Earth. The woman watched carefully. Some of the things he fixed, those weren't human machines. She rose silently and walked across the room. On a shelf behind him, tucked beside old parts and dusty boxes, was a small item that made her heart stop. A Corellian pulse core, alien tech, from her world. She reached out but didn't touch it. He noticed her gaze. "You know this?" he asked through the translator. She turned slowly to face him. "This is from my planet," she said. "From the mines in the southern zones." He nodded once. "I know," she narrowed her eyes. "How?" The man wiped his hands with a cloth. "My wife," the device translated. "She came from there before she died." The woman's chest tightened. "You still keep her tech?" she asked. The man looked toward the photo frame on the wall. "I fix what reminds me of her," he said. "I helped those she would have helped." Then he stood and pulled open a large drawer beneath the bench. Inside were rows of small advanced alien items, tools, memory chips, translators, even pieces of starship metal. Carefully labeled, clean, preserved. The woman's eyes widened. "This is forbidden," she said in a whisper. "Humans aren't allowed to keep these." "I know," he replied quietly, "but I don't sell them, I just keep them safe." She looked at him differently now. This man wasn't just a mechanic. He was something else. Someone who knew pain. Someone who had once loved her kind deeply. Someone who had broken the law. Not for power, not for money, but to remember. She stepped closer to the drawer and picked up a half-burnt memory chip. "This is from the old translator hubs. My husband used to install these before the war." The man watched her. "Do you want to keep it?" She stared at him. "Why would you give it to me?" "Because," he said through the translator, "you're the first person in years who understands what it is." That evening, they ate together at the small table. The man made soup again. The woman helped stir this time. Her daughter laughed as she sat on a crate nearby, drawing shapes in the dust with her finger. After dinner, the man stood up and opened a small storage room at the back of the garage. It was dark at first, but as he flicked the switch, the lights revealed something unexpected. A small bedroom, clean sheets, a soft bed, a single closet. Even toys, simple ones but neatly placed on a shelf. The woman stepped in slowly, holding her daughter's hand. "This was for your child?" she asked. The man nodded. "Yes. She never got to sleep in it." The alien woman touched the bed. Her fingers trembled. The child sat on the mattress and bounced once, laughing. The mother turned to the man. "And now?" He looked away. "Now, it's for yours." Tears filled her eyes. She didn't know what to say. Later that night, after putting her daughter to sleep in the soft bed, the woman walked back into the main room. The man sat alone. Fixing something small in his lap, she sat across from him. "You lost someone," she said softly. "Yes, and you saved me because I remind you of her?" "No," he replied, looking up. "I saved you because no one else did." The words hit hard. She lowered her head. "I was angry," she whispered. "Angry at humans. I thought all of you were cruel. I taught my daughter to stay silent, to hide. The man stayed quiet. But now, I see not all humans are the same." He nodded. Then, For the first time, she spoke her name. "Lisa," she said. "My name is Lisa." The man paused. "I'm David." She smiled, small, but real. That night, as the rain fell again, Lisa didn't curl up on the cold floor. She stood beside the sleeping bed of her daughter, tucked her in, then slowly lay down beside her. For the first time since she crashed on Earth, she allowed herself to hope. It began with a small cough. At first, Lisa didn't worry. The air was still cold outside, and her daughter had been through so much. A little cough was nothing new. But by the next day, the child couldn't stand. Her tiny body burned with fever. Her eyes rolled back. Her breathing was fast. Too fast. "Wake up," Lisa whispered, shaking her. "Please, little one. Wake up." But her daughter didn't open her eyes. Panic rose inside Lisa like fire. She scooped the child into her arms and rushed out of the small room, heart pounding. "David!" she cried out, her voice cracking. "Help me!" David was working at his bench, but the moment he saw Lisa's face, he jumped up. He didn't ask questions. He looked at the girl, touched her forehead, then quickly moved to a hidden panel behind the wall. He pressed a switch. A piece of the wall slid open. Behind it was a door, and behind the door, a hidden room. Bright white lights, medical equipment, a small healing bed with soft glowing panels. "This isn't legal," Lisa whispered in shock. "I don't care," David said. "Put her here." Lisa hesitated, then gently laid her daughter on the bed. The panels lit up as they scanned her body. The child twitched. Her lips were dry, her skin pale. David moved quickly. He attached a breathing tube, pushed a few buttons on the machine, and spoke into a microphone. His voice was calm, but his hands trembled. Lisa stood frozen. She's going to be okay, right?" she asked. David didn't answer right away. His jaw tightened. "I don't know," he said. Time passed like heavy clouds. The small clinic room was silent except for the beep, beep, beep of the machine. Lisa sat beside her daughter, holding her small hand. It was cold. "Why now?" she whispered. "Why now, when we were safe?" David brought her warm water, but she didn't drink it. He sat across the room, watching. "My wife died like this," he said quietly. "She got sick. We couldn't get help in time. The hospitals refused her." Lisa looked at him. "I built this room afterward," he continued. "For anyone like her. For anyone like you." Lisa wiped her eyes. "I didn't ask for this." "You didn't need to," he replied. Hours passed. David checked the readings. "Her body is weak," he said. "She hasn't eaten enough." The cold made it worse. Lisa nodded. "We lived under a bridge for weeks. I gave her most of my food." David didn't speak. He just turned away for a moment, then returned with a sealed packet. "What's that?" Lisa asked. "Emergency nutrient serum," he said. "Alien safe." She blinked. You had that here?" "For years," he said. "I was saving it, but she needs it more." He gently connected the serum to the tube. The machine beeped louder. The little girl stirred. Lisa leaned forward. "Baby?" A small cough. A tiny whimper. Then her daughter's fingers curled weakly around Lisa's. "She's fighting," David whispered. Lisa pressed her forehead to her daughter's hand. "You're strong, my love. Stay with me." Night came. Rain tapped the windows again. But inside the hidden room, warmth and light held them safe. David stayed nearby, never resting. Lisa finally turned to him. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "Why do you care so much about strangers?" David looked at her, tired but honest. "Because I wasn't there for my wife when she needed me," he said. "I was too late. I won't be too late again." Lisa's eyes filled with tears. "You're not late," she whispered. "You were just in time." In the early hours of the morning, the girl opened her eyes, just a little. "Mama?" she said, voice dry and soft. Lissa gasped. "Yes, I'm here. I'm here." David stepped closer and smiled. "She's going to make it." Lissa hugged her daughter gently, careful of the tubes. Then she looked at David. Really looked at him. She didn't see a stranger anymore. She saw the reason her child was alive. Later, as the girl rested peacefully, Lissa sat beside David outside the room. "Your wife must have been brave," she said. "She was," he replied. "Just like you." They sat in silence. Two people, two stories, two kinds of pain. But now, maybe one future. Together. The small clinic room was quiet now. The fever had passed. Lissa's daughter slept peacefully, her chest rising and falling in slow, steady rhythm. The healing machine beeped gently, now calm, no longer urgent. A light, home filled the space. Lissa sat beside the bed, brushing her daughter's soft hair. Her fingers trembled, not from fear, but from relief. She looked up. David stood in the doorway, silent, as if he didn't want to disturb them. "You saved her," Lissa whispered. David didn't answer right away. He only gave a small nod. She stood and followed him out of the room. The garage felt different now. It wasn't just a place with tools and machines. It was the reason her child was alive. David sat on a bench near the heater, his eyes tired, his hands covered in oil and dried blood from where he had worked all night. Lissa sat across from him. "I need to know," she said softly. "Know what?" "Why you helped us," she said. "Not just with food, not just with shelter. You risked everything." David looked at his hands. Then he stood, walked to a metal drawer and pulled something out. A small silver ring. He held it out to her. "This belonged to her," he said. Lissa took the ring. It had writing on it, curved alien letters from her. "World. You married one of us," she whispered. "Yes." David sat again. She came to Earth as a translator for the galactic peace talks. She was calm, gentle, smarter than anyone I ever met. I was just a mechanic. I didn't belong in her world, but she chose me. Lissa listened, holding the ring in her hand like it might vanish if she let go. She got pregnant. Everything was fine until she got sick. David's voice grew tight. The human hospitals refused to treat her, said alien blood was too dangerous, too different. We begged. They turned us away. Lissa closed her eyes. "They both died," David said. "My wife, my daughter. I buried them myself." Silence. The heater crackled softly. "I built the clinic," he continued, "because I swore I'd never let that happen again. To anyone. Not if I could help it." Lissa's chest ached. She looked at him and saw not just a man, but a wound that had never healed. "You don't owe us anything," she said, "but you gave us everything." He shook his head. "I didn't save your daughter to pay for my past." "Then why?" David looked at her with quiet eyes. "Because I still believe we're supposed to protect those we can. That's what love does, even if it's painful, even if it costs us everything." Later, Lissa stepped outside for fresh air. The sky was clearing. The rain had stopped. The air smelled of metal, soil, and a hint of something blooming. She stood under the open roof of the garage and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there was the wreck of her ship. Somewhere further was the home she had lost. Her husband. Her old life. Gone. But not everything was gone. Inside the garage, her daughter slept, alive, and the man who had saved them wasn't just kind. He was broken like her, lost like her, but still fighting, still giving. That evening, David made soup again. This time, Lissa helped without being asked. They worked together in silence, side by side. Her hands brushed his once. Neither of them pulled away. They sat at the table with bowls in front of them. Her daughter joined them too, walking slowly, wrapped in the blanket, smiling with sleepy eyes. For the first time, they ate as three, not as strangers, but as something more. After dinner, David took out a small music box. He turned the dial. Soft alien music filled the garage, notes from a faraway world. Lissa gasped. This song. My mother used to hum this when I was small. David smiled. My wife sang it too. Lissa closed her eyes and let the melody carry her back, through pain, through fear, into a place where peace still existed. When the song ended, she opened her eyes. Thank you, she whispered. David looked at her. For what? For not giving up. On yourself. On us. He didn't speak. But in his silence, something shifted. Not everything broken stays broken. Sometimes it becomes something stronger. The sun rose gently over the old garage. Soft golden light touched the walls, the broken machines, the dusty shelves. Inside, warmth spread slowly, not from the heater, but from the feeling that something new had begun. Lissa opened her eyes. She was no longer sleeping on a cold floor or under a bridge. She was in a room with clean sheets and a window that let in light. Her daughter was curled up beside her, smiling in her sleep. Her cheeks had color again. Her breathing was soft and even. Lissa sat up quietly and looked around. This place, this old forgotten garage, had become something she never thought she'd find on Earth. A home. In the main room, David was already awake. He stood by his workbench repairing a small flying bot. His hands moved gently, not like before when he worked to forget, but now with care and peace. When he heard her footsteps, he looked up. Morning, he said through the translator, smiling. Lissa smiled back. Morning. She stepped beside him and watched his hands. You still fix things even on quiet days? She asked. He chuckled. Machines don't rest. Lissa reached out and picked up a tool. Then maybe I should help. David paused, surprised. You sure? She nodded. I used to repair signal towers back home. I wasn't just a mother. He handed her the tool. They worked side by side, and for a long moment, there were no broken hearts, no sad pasts, just two people building something new. That afternoon, David took them into the city, not through the crowded main roads, but through the quiet back lanes where no one stared. They stopped at a market. Lissa held her daughter's hand and David carried a small bag with supplies. He bought fruit, bread, even a new pair of boots for the child. She'll outgrow them in months, Lissa said softly. That's good, David replied. It means she's growing. On their way back, the girl tugged on David's sleeve. Can I ask you something? She said. He knelt down. Of course. What should I call you? David blinked. The girl looked at her mother, then back at him. I mean, you help us. You stay with us. Are you family? David looked at Lissa. She didn't speak, but her eyes were soft, open. He turned back to the girl. You can call me whatever you like, he said. If you want, you can call me Dad. The girl smiled. Okay, Dad. That night, they had dinner together again. 3 plates, 1 table. Afterward, David gave Lissa a small wrapped box. She looked at it, confused. What is this? Something I found while cleaning, he said. I thought it might mean something to you. She opened it. Inside was a necklace, simple, silver, and old. But it had a charm with a symbol from her world. Lissa touched it with shaking fingers. This is from the southern lands. It's a symbol of bond. It means chosen family. David smiled. I thought it was just pretty. No, she whispered. It's more than that. She looked at him. You're more than that. Later, as stars filled the sky, Lissa stood outside the garage, her daughter playing nearby. David joined her. Still think of going home? He asked. Lisa looked up at the stars. "No," she said. "My home is gone, but that doesn't mean I'm lost anymore." She looked at him. "I found something better." He didn't speak. She reached out and took his hand. "Do you know what we say on my planet when we find a new beginning?" "What?" she smiled. "We say, a new name for a new family." David raised an eyebrow. "And what name would that be?" She looked down at their hands, then back at him. "Love," she said softly. "That's what we call it. In Noi." The weeks that followed, the garage changed. A second bed was added. Tools were shared. Laughter echoed more often. Lisa fixed more machines. David taught the child to build small gadgets. They made new meals. They planted flowers outside. Neighbors began to notice. Some stopped to ask questions. Some brought gifts. Some even smiled. One night, Lisa's daughter stood in front of David holding a piece of paper. "What's this?" he asked. She grinned. "I made it in the junk drawer." It was a family photo, hand-drawn. 3 stick figures, a girl, a woman, and a man with messy hair and a red umbrella. Written above, "Our Forever Place." David looked at it, then at the girl, and for the first time in years, he felt whole again. A broken alien woman, a lonely human man, a child who nearly died. Now they were something stronger, a family. Not by blood, but by choice, and in a cold, forgotten corner of Earth. Love found its way home.